Hey, Retcon Raider here. Well, we're most of the way through September, so what better time to take a step back and reflect on how the channel did back in August? As usual, my monthly update has been pushed back a little farther than I'd like, but honestly, all things considered, I think it's probably for the best, at least this time around. As with other recent months, August was actually pretty quiet. In fact, if not for the small spike caused by the Wasteland 3 alpha, it might have actually been the slowest month of 2019. Sadly, the numbers have been slowly but steadily slipping for quite some time now, but thankfully, that's a trend we finally managed to reverse, as of the beginning of September. That said, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers, and then we'll try to put them all into perspective. Now, according to the analytics, we gained roughly 245 new subscribers and 90,000 global views throughout the month of August. That's actually a little bit higher than the numbers we saw back in July, but like I said, most of that came from the Wasteland 3 alpha, which dropped at the very end of the month. Sadly, the analytics over the past few months have basically confirmed what I already suspected. By splitting my attention over 4 or 5 smaller ongoing series, I was essentially leading the channel into stagnation. YouTube is really built around putting out timely, focused content. Picking a project and basically riding it until the wheels start to fall off, at which point you just jump onto a new project and start writing that one instead. It's an approach that makes sense, given that you're trying to hold an audience's attention for as long as possible. In my case, though, I've been trying to juggle a half-dozen smaller audiences simultaneously, because I hate to disappoint people by leaving a project unfinished. Unfortunately, it's just gotten to the point where I have to accept the obvious. I only have so much time to work with, and some projects are just more deserving of it than others. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing games like Battle Brothers, Darkest Dungeon, and Phantom Doctrine. I just really shouldn't be trying to play them all at once. Instead, I should be focusing on just 1 or 2 series at a time, the way I used to back when I first started the channel. I recently started experimenting with that approach, starting with the Wasteland 3 alpha, and then leading into the new backer build for Phoenix Point. And the difference in my performance analytics is like night and day. To put it into perspective, my week worth of Wasteland 3 videos boosted the overall channel performance by roughly 100%. The numbers quickly dipped back down to normal in the week afterwards, but then spiked dramatically as I started my new series about Backer Build 5. At its height, I was seeing numbers as high as 600% above my usual daily average. Granted, there has been a slow drop-off over time, but the faster-paced release schedule has really helped maintain viewer interest, and the overall channel performance has been steadily hovering anywhere from 200 to 300% higher than usual. Of course, that does beg the question of what I'm planning to do moving forward. Obviously, although my Phoenix Point videos are performing very well, I still have a fair number of viewers who just don't care about that particular game. I've gotten a lot of questions asking when I'm going to get back to games like Battle Brothers or Pathfinder Kingmaker, and honestly, I don't really have a definite answer for that. Not yet, anyway. As always, I'm basically just playing things by ear. I've mentioned it before, but I'm still just an amateur when it comes to YouTube, so pretty much everything I do is just one grand experiment. The simple fact of the matter is that I let myself fall into a rut, and I'm currently focused on trying to dig my way back out of it. Thus far, it does seem to be working, but it's still going to take a decent amount of time and effort before things start to stabilize. With Phoenix Point, Backer Build 5 has actually proven to be remarkably stable. Even 10 episodes in, I'm still seeing an average of roughly 10,000 views per episode. To put that into perspective, That's roughly 5 times better than I was seeing with Pathfinder Kingmaker, and about 10 times better than anything else in my recent playlists. That means, at least for now, Backer Build 5 has thoroughly earned a recurring slot in my current production schedule, though I will be keeping a close eye on the analytics. That said, I don't want this to just become the Phoenix Point channel, so I would like to have at least one other series to focus on. Ideally, I think a good balance is to have 2 ongoing series at any given time. That way, I can average about 7 to 8 new episodes for each series on a monthly basis, as opposed to my old schedule where a lot of them were only seeing 1 or 2. Not only will that make it a lot easier to maintain viewer interest, but it will also make it a lot more likely that I'll actually finish some of these series. Then, once a series has run its course, either due to audience disinterest or by coming to a natural conclusion, I can simply add a different project to my ongoing schedule. Either something new or one of my older, unfinished series, like Pathfinder Kingmaker or Darkest Dungeon. At the moment, I actually have my eye on 2 prospective new projects. Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones, which comes out on September 26th, and Disco Elysium, which comes out on October 15th. My current plan is to dedicate at least 1 full week worth of episodes to each of those games, both to help give them some exposure, but also to get a better idea if it's something that might make a sustainable series. After that, I'll probably pick the better performing of the 2 and start alternating episodes with Backer Build 5. If Backer Build 5 starts dropping off, then I might just end up alternating between Stygian and Disco Elysium instead. Overall, I think that's the general pattern that I'd like to shoot for. 2 concurrently running series, with occasional breaks for things like new releases, crowdfunding projects, or my unique brand of exhaustive lore analysis. Of course, as always, I'm curious to see what you guys think about all of this. After all, while YouTube itself might be a rather fickle mistress, your support is what's helped keep the channel running over the past 2 years. I know it might not seem like much, but every single time you watch, like, or comment on one of my videos, it actually does make a difference. It's thanks to people like you that I've been able to upload roughly 550 videos over the past 28 months. This might have just started as a hobby, but at this point, I think it's fair to say that it's essentially become my part-time job. While the revenue is still pretty modest, it's generally enough to cover things like new games, production overhead, and more recently, monthly shipments of basic necessities like energy drinks and healthier, grain-free cat food. In fact, thanks to the generous support of my patrons, I can finally move forward with my most ambitious upgrade yet, essentially building a proper gaming computer, one that's completely dedicated towards creating new and better content for the channel. It's something that I've needed to do for quite some time now, especially since my CPU is almost 8 years old. That said, I'd like to give special thanks to my honorary raiders from August: Austin Fagan, Ben Hollingshead, Benjamin Gray, BioGolem, Brad Quinn, Cecil Kane, Domen Anslovar, ICU, Kim S. Jensen, Mark Richards, Maximilian Monk, Mozzie Melton, Mr. Scar Lectures, Stepan Lovasic, The Cursed Typewriter, Tom Edward Idland, and Yokes. I'd also like to give extra special thanks to my veteran raiders from August: A Normal Joe, Adri Raven, Eloise, Ash, Drakith, Excelsior, Forbidden One, James Tremiere, Jonathan Tanner, Laura and Mike, Leroy Nukinson, Mike Spark, Mildly Nuclear, Nod Goblin Nico, Valen Rook, and Woe77. Oh, and special mention to Revenant and Rowan Church. who continue to be two of my most dedicated supporters. Between the two of them, they've actually helped keep the channel out of the red during some of our slower months. And that's something I'll always appreciate. If you'd like to help support the channel, I mean more than you already do by watching my videos, then feel free to check out the links to my PayPal or Patreon in the description below. I know, the rewards are still pretty modest, but I can't really afford anything more ambitious. Not yet, anyway. At the very least, you can rest assured that every dollar you donate goes right back into the channel, or towards feeding my cat some slightly healthier food. And trust me, they certainly appreciate it. At any rate, I think I've rambled quite enough for 1 month, so let's just wrap things up here. This is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, if you need to contact me for any reason, feel free to leave a comment on any of my videos. You can also reach me through my Facebook page, my Twitter feed, my Discord server, my Patreon account, or through my official email. As always, links are in the description.